So the broad points of this scheme is that the whole academic session is divided into 2 terms, wherein approximately 50% syllabus would be there for term 1 and for term 2. Both these terms would be followed by an end of term assessment. The first term assessment would be MCQ based. It would be a 90 minutes paper. The second term paper would be a 120 minutes paper with questions of different formats. The syllabus for the session for examination purposes would be rationalized just like last year. Besides that, guidelines to make internal assessment and practical and project work more credible and more valid have also been released by the board. Let's go to the next slide. So the core competencies which are basic and fundamental to a given subject are to be tested in the MCQ-based assessment. However, we also acknowledged that not all competencies, it is not possible to assess all competencies through a written MCQ-based pen paper test. So therefore, MCQs which would come for term 1 would be framed on lots of quality parameters. For instance, that they should have clear, unambiguous items 10, good quality distractors, relevant stimulus, and they shouldn't have any biases. Moving ahead to the next slide, please. So the exam duration, as I said earlier, would be 90 minutes. Approximately 20 to 25% additional questions would be there in each section. So the choice would not be internal choices. That means it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be asking the students to attempt question A or B. Rather, there would be a certain number of questions in each sections, and the students would be asked to attempt some questions. So for instance, one section may have, let's say, 25 questions, and the students can choose any 20 questions to answer. So therefore, we are saying that the choices offered in the paper for term 1 would not be internal choices. However, it would be at the section level. So besides that, 20% case-based questions for class 10th and 10% for class 12th, as it was already declared in the policy, will continue to do that. Let's move ahead. Now, these are the assessment frameworks. These have been informed to teachers and schools already through the curriculum document. And just a summary for largely for sciences, mathematics, and social sciences. The cognitive domain have been divided into broad 3 categories. For the languages, once again, we have broad 3 categories. Let's go to the next slide. For the languages, once again, broadly, we have 3 different categories of assessment objectives. However, these would be sectioned into reading, in unseen passages, into literature and grammar. So all these details are already available for the teachers and the schools in the curriculum document for each subject. Let's move ahead. Next slide, please. Let's go to the next slide. So when we talk about the term 1 MCQ-based pen paper examination, we are proposing that all MCQs would have 4 options. There would be no negative marking. There would be choices or options, which we say, but it would be within the section, not vis-a-vis the question number. Also, we will give very clear instruction to the students that evaluation of the first attempted X number of questions would be done. So for instance, if a section has 25 questions and the students are asked to attempt any 20 out of those, assessment would be done or evaluation would be considered only for the first 20 which the student has attempted. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Now we come to the what are the possible types of MCQs which we can have. So one is simple MCQs, the next is complex, and the third is assertion and reasoning. Next, I have a few slides which are examples of these typologies of questions. They are largely science questions, but I'm sure you will get other good examples for other subjects also. Let's go to the next slide. So this is one simple MCQ. This is largely a knowledge-based question. I'll just pause for maybe half a minute so that you can read it. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is another multiple choice question. However, it is not a knowledge-based question. It is a question where the students are expected to read the proposition, whatever is proposed, and to figure out, to think. Let us go to the next slide, please. Another thinking sort of a question. So we ask the students what best describes the main function of the alveoli in the lungs. Here also it's application of knowledge. Let's go to the next example. This is not probably for classes 9th and 10th or a junior class, but still it is a question which will prompt the students to think about whatever is given to them. Moving ahead to the next typology of question, which is the complex multiple choice questions, where more than one option can be correct. So for instance, if we ask which of the following is a characteristic or characteristics of a virus, and there are 4 options given, so multiple of them can be correct. Next question, please. Complex multiple choice questions can also be in the form of a sequencing or ordering type questions. So here the student is expected to do a lot of permutation, combination, figure out which is the best possible solution for this. Next question, please. We are also talking about assertion reasoning questions. So this has been included in sciences in the earlier years, but probably just maybe a few of these questions would be there for other subjects also. Next question, please. Next slide, please. And besides that, of course, we have the case-based questions. I think the students have been used to case-based questions since the last 2 years. And usually there is a context. It can be in the form of a data, a visual image, a dialogue also. There would be 4 to 5 questions which would be followed, which would be linked to this presented narrative or data or visual. So these are case-based questions which would be there in our question papers. I think this is all which I have. Thank you for your time and attention. Over to you, Jyoti ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would now like to call upon Dr. Pragya M. Singh, Joint Secretary, CBSE, to discuss in detail the components of the internal assessment. Ma'am. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
We're not hearing you, ma'am.
So there is some issue in Pragya's system. I'll request her to come again, maybe.
I think so.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta, and thank you, Dr. Jyoti. I hope I am audible now. So my presentation would be largely based on the guidelines for internal assessment, which are given as an Annexure 1 and an Annexure 2 in the circular we just mentioned. And these guidelines have been given to make internal assessment more reliable and more valid. I request Sudhirji to please play the presentation. Now, the question arises, why are these guidelines given for internal assessment? These guidelines give specifics and details of components of internal assessment and project, etc. Then these are the clear guidelines, what is to be done and how is it to be done. Then these guidelines also tell us about the structure, the flow, the schedule, the sample activities, the suggestive rubrics, as well as the details of term-wise assessment for both the terms, and in short, to make internal assessment more reliable and valid. We have divided into 2 major aspects. One is the guidelines for the subjects of project work, 20 marks, for example, sociology, history, and other subjects, as you can see on the screen. And the second is the guidelines for languages. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, for the project, as far as the project is concerned, only one project as per the existing scheme. There is no change in the scheme. As per the existing scheme, one project is to be done. And it will be divided into two parts, and how it will be done we'll be discussing in detail in the later slides. Next slide, please. The objectives for the project work are very clear. One is to probe deeper into personal inquiry, initiate action, so that whatever the students have gained during the course of class 11-12, they are able to apply it. They are able to analyze and evaluate what the knowledge taken by them in the real world situation, apply the 21st century skills of critical and creative thinking, and follow aspects in which they are interested. In a way, give them a chance to develop their research skills, which will be helpful in their later lives. Next, please. Of course, the teacher has a very important role, because the teacher helps them in developing the thinking skills of the learners. For this, the teacher should, what the teacher should do, we have given a suggestive things for that. Next slide, Sudhiji. Now, first of all, we need to map our learning outcomes which are to be achieved through the project. These learning outcomes are given in our manuals. The link is given, and it is available on the handbook tab at our website, cbseacademic.nic.in. After this, the teacher should help each learner to select the topic, of course, after detailed discussions and deliberations, and play the role of a facilitator, because teacher has a very important role in this project work, in the sense that they have to play the role of facilitator to support and monitor the project of work in learner through periodic discussions. So periodic discussions and detailed discussions are very important aspects. Next, please. Next slide, Sudhiji. The teacher need to guide the research work in terms of sources of relevant data, and ensure that students understand the relevance and usage of this evidence and the data collected by them during the project work. And also ensure that students are able to derive a conclusion from the content, cite the limitations, and whatever conclusions they have derived that they are actually appropriate. This needs to be facilitated. This needs to be clearly seen by the teacher. Next. Plagiarism is a very important aspect, that the knowledge about plagiarism must be made to the students right from the beginning when they start the project work, and 11-12 is a very right time for do that. So the teacher should educate the learners about plagiarism and the importance of coding the source of information, so that the research work, whatever they do, is authentic, and whatever they do is original. And this way, prepare the learner for the presentation of the project work and arrange the presentation of the project file. Next slide. There were certain steps which are involved in the conduct of the project work. They can, the students can work on the following lines as suggested. Next. They are basically, these are 7 stages that we have referred to. One is choose a title or topic, then collect the research material and data, organize that data and material in a cohesive form, and present that material and data, analyze it, draw the relevant conclusion, and present the project work. So these all aspects which are there which are important as steps for the project work are to be told to students, and students should be made aware about all these aspects right from the beginning of the project work, and a teacher has a very important role in this. Now, this project or presentation, we have always, or CBSE has already mandated that art integrated learning should be an important aspect in the form of pedagogy. Now, you can involve any art integrated activity like dance or cultural show, some file, some exhibition, some presentation, some skit or some role play. In any of these forms, or any form which a child feels happy about, can be a part of the presentation of the project work. However, visually impaired and differently able candidates can also take up any of these activities which is most suitable for them. There are certain checklists which I have given in these guidelines, that whether the student has introduced the topic, whether the student has identified the causes, events, and consequences, then what are the various stakeholders and effect on each of them, advantages and disadvantages, implications of the strategy, then is the data reliable, appropriate, and relevance, presentation and writing which is clear and coherent, and the citation of materials. So these are the expected checklists for the project work, which would be helpful for a teacher when in the time of assessment. Now we come to the term-wise assessment of the project work. How to divide it? Now, Project work broadly has the following phases. First is the initiation phase, then the data collection phase, then analysis, interpretation, finally conclusion. Now 20 marks which have been assigned for the project work can be divided into two terms in the way we have just delineated in the next slide. Preferably you can have from up to July, September month. These months you can, use these months for instructions about project guidelines, background reading, discussions, and selection of the topic and initiation synopsis. Next 2 months, that is October, November, can be devoted to planning and organization, forming an action plan, feasibility, study, and data collection. Vis-a-vis, these assessment rubrics have been given, and 5 marks have been allotted for the first 3 months, July to September, for the introduction, statement of purpose, needs, and objective of the study, literature review, methodology, keywords, questionnaire, etc. The next 5 marks have been allotted to significance and relevance of the topic, challenges encountered while conducting the research. This way, half of the assessment is over by November for the 10 marks. For the term 2, further continuing this thing, the months of November, December and January can be utilized for the content, data analysis and interpretation, conclusion, limitations, suggestions, bibliography and excerpts, etc., and overall presentation. Assessment rubrics for this would be the content analysis and its relevance in the current scenario, conclusion, limitations, bibliography, and presentation. That is for 5 marks. And by January, February, there would be final assessment in Viva by both internal and external examiner as per the scheme of studies given in the syllabus. And it would be a basis the project, and 5 marks would be for the Viva. So this is the suggestive timeline. In case you plan early and you are able to do it, that is up to the schools. Now, during the Viva Voce, at the end of each stipulated term, the learner will present the research work in project file to the examiner. The internal examiner should ensure that whatever work the child is presenting, it is his or her own work. The question should be asked from the research work of the learner, and in case of any doubt, that authenticity should be checked and verified. Now, we come to the next part of guidelines, and these are the guidelines for assessment of listening speaking skills, primarily for English and other languages. If other languages can also make use of these guidelines, because languages, you have the common ALS for all the languages. Now, ALS must be seen as an integrated component of all 4 language skills. There are suggestive activities which should be taken into consideration, that these are the integration of all 4 languages skills: reading, speaking, listening, and writing. However, at the time of assessment, emphasis will be given only to the speaking and listening skills, since reading and writing are already being assessed in the written examination. So listening skill focus should be for improving learners' competency to listen for basic interpersonal, instructional, and academic purposes. Whereas for speaking skills, the assessment should be made an important component for the overall assessment, using this assessment as learning. These are the guidelines for classes 9th and 10th. Now, listening and speaking skills should be regularly practiced. It is not a one-time assessment. These are the skills which are developed over the year, over the academic session. So the activities which you do in the classroom, during the online or offline classroom, whichever applicable, such activities are to be used where you can give ample opportunities for development of listening and speaking skill of students. Now, we have already issued a circular on 14th May 2020 that art integrated projects based on activities like role play, skit, dramatizations can also be used for these activities. Now, activities for the sake of, or for the convenience of our teachers, we have given certain activities on our website at cbsacademic.in. In addition to that, NCERT has also released a book called Interactions. The link is given in this slide, as well as the link is also available in the circular which we are just discussing. Teachers can also refer to the books which are prescribed for the syllabus, which is released by NCERT. And these books also have various activities related to speaking and listening skills. In addition to this, teachers can also create their own activities. It can create their own material for listening, for opportunities for listening and speaking skills. There are 4 parameters for assessment. One is interactive competence, initiation and turn taking, which are relevant to the topic. Second is fluency, cohesion, coherence, and speed of delivery. Third is pronunciation. And fourth is language, grammar, and vocabulary. Next slide. For classes 11th and 12th, the guidelines are, for the first term, it is the same as we have just told. Next slide, please. Now, for the first term, there would be 10 marks assigned for assessment of listening and speaking skills. For this, as far as class 11th and 12th are concerned, subject teachers must refer to the books which prescribed in their syllabus, as well as they can plan their own activities and create their own material for this assessment. The parameters for assessment naturally will remain the same, that is interactive competence, fluency, pronunciation, and language. If you look at the circular, we have also given suggestive rubrics for all these 4 parameters for the assessment of ALS, for both for classes 9th and 10th, as well as for classes 11th and 12th. Kindly have a look at that in detail. The practice of listening and speaking skills should be done throughout the academic year, as we have just said, because this development of listening and speaking skills is not a one-time activity. The final term on assessment of the skill is to be done as per the convenience and schedule of the school. For term 2, there would be 1 small project work and a viva voce, and 10 marks would be assigned to this. Out of the 10 marks allotted for the term, 5 marks will be allotted for the project, report, script, or essay, and 5 marks for the viva. There would be, as I just said, there will be 1 small project work to be covered in term 2. However, the planning for this project work can begin early and in consultation with the teachers. Now, the schools will refer to the suggestive timeline we have given in the guidelines related to the circular, and the final assessment of the skills may be done on the basis of the parameters suggested by the board. Now, this project work should be interdisciplinary in theme. The ideas, issues highlighted in the chapters, poems, and drama given in the prescribed books can also be developed in the form of a project. And students can also take up any relevant and age-appropriate theme. Naturally, opportunities must be given to the students to explore the age-appropriate themes and topics. Such topics must be taken up which provide students with opportunities for listening and speaking. There's a slight delay in the streaming. We have just given a few suggestions related to the project work. One, as you can see on the screen, it is interview-based research. We have taken up 2 examples. One is evolving food taste in my neighborhood, and the second is corona pandemic and followed of families. Now, students can be asked to read the available literature on these topics. Then they would conduct interviews with a few neighbors on the topic. For an interview, the questions are to be framed beforehand for the preliminary research work or background in consultation and with the help of teacher. Then the students will write an essay, a write-up, a report up to 1,000 words in his research work and submit it. Then take a viva. That is one suggestion. Second, this project can be done individually or in pairs or groups. Second suggestion for the project is listen to the podcast, interviews, radios, or TV documentary on a topic and prepare a report countering or agreeing with the speakers. A report can be written on that and submit, and then viva can be taken on the report. Next example is students create their own video and audio after writing a script. Certain questions are given. Now, instructions for the teachers for this is that teachers need to be give orientation to the students for the project work, facilitate the students in the selection of them, and create a rubric. We have also given a sample rubric for reference for the teachers as well as the students. Parameters for overall assessment is our pronunciation, vocabulary, accuracy, communication skills, interaction, fluency. Now, there are 2 points which the teachers need to take into account, that some teachers, some students may not be fluent in one aspect, so other aspects should also be taken into consideration. We have also given a format for the project, a portfolio, project report, and this can include a cover page, statement of purpose, certification of completion. I'll give you a few seconds to go through this as this format. This is just a suggestive format. You can use your own format if required. While assessing the project portfolio, quality, accuracy, adherence to the timeline, content in respect of spellings, etc., clarity of thoughts, creativity, contribution by group members, and knowledge and experience gained. This is once again a suggestive parameter for assessment. Timelines we have given 5 steps in project plan: project initiation, planning, execution, implementation, and closure. The timeline has also been given, a suggestive timeline given along with the circular in the guidelines. You can have a look at that. So as you can see, we have started planning for this preferably till November, and a sample rubric for the project work related to theatre, role play, oral presentation, interview, podcast is given. Categories are time limit, content, creativity. So this is just a sample, a suggestive rubrics. You can explore it. You can use your own, create your own rubric for this assessment. That is from my side, all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The first question.
Yes, why not?
Many
Go ahead.
experts highlight that the new system of creating profiles of the students having competency-based questions will give rise to extra reading beyond the text. Please elaborate.
Yeah, beyond the text, because new education policy is highlighted, the textbook should not be the only Bible which usually we refer. So just to make a good profile, I think, and that too also looking into the perspective of competency-based education, how we can connect with the real life. So any event, if we can connect with the learning outcomes, and that learning, if it is assessed by the teacher, I think that is more relevant than that of the chapter and question. So maybe in the new textual material, what NCERT and different subject matter experts from our schools, they are going to develop such kind of material so that existing systems of assessment can be, I should not say diverted, but in a new way we can do all kind of assessment. So that ultimately we can create a good profile for every child, and their strength, how we can really understand that is more relevant than that of what we understand, and based on our understanding we are asking some question.
Absolutely.
If
So there are
can go other side of the coin.
Absolutely. So there are competencies that the children have already inborn. So it's basically elaborating on those. So before implementing the CBSE's new assessment policy, don't you think there is a need to educate all the stakeholders by training them under able resource people zone-wise, as it was done earlier when the continuous and comprehensive evaluation also came in? What are your plans on this?
I think our teachers are very much capable, and today we by these expert sessions, Pragya, Sheta, and RP Singh, who are actually creating this kind of policy framework after several consultations with our subject experts, and mostly from the school and higher education. So this is initiations, and later on with the help of our 16th Center of Excellence and other resource persons, we'll deep dive, and if there are any sort of query, we are coming out with a mechanisms when the sample questions would be paper would be out, then the clarity would be there more than what we are discussing today. And thereafter, on their own also, they are going to handle the situation, because whatever we are going to adapt for class 10th and 12th, there is experimentation space for class 8, 9, and 11. So which board is not interfering. Only we may give some kind of sample question paper, But whether our sample question paper works in field in class 9, 11, and also their monthly test in class 10th and 12th, they can give us a feedback. And that's why Chairman Sir has categorically mentioned that continuous engagement, both in the form of multiple training or dialogue, or through different kind of communication channel, whether it is email or a phone call or WhatsApp, I think some way we can address all such issues.
Right, sir. So do you think that the same term examinations that are there for 10th and 12th should also be conducted for 9th and 11th? Because this year we saw that the 11th marks were also considered for the tabulation of results for class 12th. So do you think, so that the children become even more serious, do you think we should you should also consider having those term exams in 9th and 11th?
I strongly feel children are always serious, and moreover, teachers, the way they give the wave of CBSE say so many things, and accordingly, class 9 and 10, 11, these term-wise examinations or assessment, a school can carry out, because this will give other kind of flexibility also. Whatever we did these things, especially keeping the pandemics in mind. So whether it is learning gap or whatever component teachers are covering during coming 2 to 3 months or 4 months until October, if that can be comprehensively assessed in November, or for class 9th or maybe for 11, if they feel that instead of November, they can conduct in October the similar term exams, or maybe in September, because many schools, they are already covered a substantial amount of syllabus. So for them, they can conduct in September. Some may aim for October, some may aim for November. Those schools who have huge learning loss due to different pandemic situations or teachers' ability and other things. So that flexibility, I think, I strongly believe it's open, and it's up to the school. But we believe if they adapt, it would be good practice sessions for them and also for us. I think Dr. Joseph can supplement this more better way, this particular question for class 9. But for skill subject, we believe for class 9 and 11, schools should do that particular. But Dr. Joseph, you can also supplement some point if you will.
Right, sir. So, sir, if I can request Joseph, sir, to also, talk, if you have the same view on the academic subjects in classes 9th and 11th as well.
Yes, I fully support Dr. Saha. What he has said is perfectly all right. One should have the same system. Even the CBSE's policy says the assessment system of classes 9 to 12 should be on a similar line. Though board is conducting class 10 and 12 board exams, but class 9 and class 11 internal assessment conducted by the school, it should be on the line of board examinations. So that will give enough experience to the students to practice the board exams, which is going to happen in the end of the course. So it's perfectly all right. Schools can follow the pattern of board examination, the style, the same way they can conduct the term-wise examinations in class 9 and class 11 also. Even otherwise, the schools are doing it in a different way. Though there is no time-wise division, schools are conducting midterm examinations and other internal assessments during throughout the academic session. So that, in a way, in a structured manner, we are going to do. That is the only difference.
Right, sir. So, Dr. Saha, how can we assess the students' programming skills using MCQs in subjects like AI, IT, computer science, and IP?
I think it is highly possible in the age of technology. More and more competency-based questions in an online mode or even in an MCQ base, it is highly possible. whether it is physics or whether it is AI or IT, it is always depend on the learning style and teaching style. So the transaction, the way schools are going to transact the curriculum, that is more important. Now, assessment is actually a kind of proof which some way board wants or the parents want. It's a demand driven kind of thing. So they are already the existing systems, both for computer science, IT, and other related technology related subjects. The systems is already there. In whether if anybody, even after UG program goes to for a job or any interview, they are actually appearing for that competency based objective type of question. So I don't think there is any difference or any problem a student or teacher are going to face due to this kind of new systems or objective pattern. I think there are more room to think and innovate within that limit of curriculum boundary.
And do you think that the physical fitness tests or the the sports tests and the physical fitness tests can be conducted using the internal grades?
Physical fitness here, you see, especially for skill related subject, there are certain component which our Joint Secretary, Mr. R.P. Singh, has highlighted that the component, even Pragya also in her explanation in project base, especially for the language, she explained the different component of questions we are going to ask. It may not be direct question. So assessment, one component is theoretical analysis. The other component is practical. And for that practical, the different kind of technique, both oral and fitness, and if need be, a teacher may internally ask for capturing some video of some student, whether they are doing that fitness activities or even some practical activities. The way we are doing the chemistry practical at home with nature, the same way for every skill subject, there is a room, including your specific question on fitness. For that, it is highly possible, even within the home boundary itself. So only use the handheld device to capture the physical activities, and the parents could be the best judge to capture the videography of their kids doing some activity, and that simply they will share with the teacher. So there are many ways, very simple, simplified way we can do the assessment. Ultimately, whether students are doing whatever objective, learning objective or some practical we prescribed as per our curriculum, that is more important. And for that, this whatever assessment we have suggested, it is highly possible.
Right, sir. So, Dr. Emmanuel, if we say that there are learning gaps amongst the students, especially during this pandemic time, they always existed. But during this pandemic time, there are learning gaps. Do you think that this new assessment policy is going to bridge those gaps?
Definitely. The new assessment policy, the beauty of this new scheme is there is a blend of both internal assessment as well as the external validation. So when you conduct internal assessment in a robust way, you will be able to assess the learning level of the learner at every level. So use the internal assessment mechanism as a tool for assessing the learning level. And if there is a deficiency or deficit, intervention can be made and learning gap can be reduced or help the child to overcome the learning gap. And the bifurcated curriculum, along with the 30% reduction in the weightage, that will also help to reduce the stress level of the learner, as well as to concentrate on the basic concepts to be gained by the learner at every level. So using this new curriculum or the new syllabus and the new pattern of examination in a constructive way can reduce the learning gap, and also it will help to bridge the learning gap. Only thing is,
Sir,
one should use it constructively and beautifully.
so on one hand, it is being said that the pressure of the students is being reduced. But on the other hand, don't you think that the multiple examinations are
think,
going to
Dr. Jyoti
increase the
Gupta
pressure?
is
Yes, sir.
disconnected.
Sir, can you hear me? Am I disconnected? Sir, can you hear me? I see.
I presume there is some problem at Sir's end. We're just checking on that.
Okay. So, Shweta ma'am, can I ask you the next question?
Please, please.
Okay. So, so if you would like to address the question, ma'am, that do you think that the pressure on the children is going to increase because of the multiple examinations?
So actually, we don't anticipate that because the curriculum has been divided into 2 terms. So it will be largely the first term they complete it, and it will be an MCQ based assessment wherein they won't be expected to write. So once again, probably the children would be happy that at least the performance part is not required. However, we need to ask them to be a bit cautious because they should be expecting questions which are of application higher order. But I feel that in term 2 also, since only 1 term's curriculum would be there, it shouldn't lead to an academic burden. The second thing is that probably there was not much scope. Like we wanted some sort of assessment to be done at whatever time convenient for the schools and the boards to do it. So hopefully we would be able to do it in the forthcoming academic session.
Right, ma'am. So another question to you, like the MCQ questions, do you think that the performance of the children will be affected because of the multiple choice questions? How do you see that? How do you see the children perform?
Okay. So since it's almost been a year and a half since we've had online teaching in schools going on, students are quite sort of by now they are quite used to online assessment wherein largely MCQ questions are being asked. So I'm sure the teachers, the school leaders and the students would also reiterate or understand that in fact they would be in a position to reflect on their performance because probably by now multiple such assessments. However, while we design the sample question papers, we will take care that students have ample reading time, that the length of the questions is within certain parameters and they don't spend too much time reading either the items or the distractors. And it should be an inclusive paper which is approachable for all our students, all our learners.
Wonderfully answered, ma'am. Do we have Pragya ma'am here? Can I ask the next question to Pragya ma'am?
Yes.
So Pragya ma'am, the first term board exam is comprised of MCQs, and the course covered is almost half of the syllabus. Just like Shweta ma'am was mentioning, the development of writing skills is not taking place in the MCQ assessment. Do you think that the students need the writing practice now, especially during this time when they're out of the school?
Very relevant question asked, Dr. Gupta. Actually, there are 2 aspects to this question, in my opinion. The first is the development of writing skills and writing practice, and the second aspect is writing practice for exams. Now, there is a need to take assessment in the spirit, it's true spirit, that is assessment for learning that we have been focusing upon in our various initiatives. And we also need to shift our focus from preparing and teaching to test and rather move towards development of competencies, that is application of knowledge in the real life situation, which is of utmost importance in today's times. And also we need to understand that board exams are not for the assessment of writing skills only. Exams are the way to assess various levels of competencies like knowledge, understanding, analysis, creation, etc. And And due to this, learning needs to be taken into constructivist approach. There are multiple ways to construct knowledge and to create it, writing can be used to create and to construct the knowledge. For example, you can use the classroom practices and the component of internal assessment they give ample scope for writing practice. You can use written assessments for learning in your day-to-day classroom situations. There are number of apps available, and blog writing can also be done. Whereas the schools which are situated remotely and which have lesser access to connectivity and technologies, they can use simply take an activity that involves writing. For example, the teachers can ask students to give their reflections in writing on a particular aspect or particular topic of a chapter which they have been doing or they have done. And as far as languages are concerned, we have received several queries on email that how would we assess writing skills through MCQs. So my answer to this question through using this platform is that we are soon to release the sample papers, and the samples papers for English would delineate how to use or how to assess writing skills through MCQs. I hope that answers the query.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And a little extension of that question is, will there be more sample questions for case-based questions provided by CBSE? And will CBSE provide ample practice sample questions based on the new assessment pattern? And by when do you think that the students will have an access to this?
Ma'am, I've just declared, Honorable Chairman Sir has just said that by 15th August, our sample papers will be released. And I would like to inform all the participants of this event that we already have a question bank uploaded on our website, cbseacademic.nic.in. This question bank contains competency-based and case-based questions on major subjects for class 10th and 12th. I request all teachers and principals who are watching this program to kindly go through those question banks and use them for practice in their classroom and day-to-day classes. Moreover, there are terms document available that are also uploaded on our website. They also give various examples of the items as well as the pedagogical practices. So my only request through this platform is that kindly go through the handbooks, the manuals which we have prepared with the support of all our teachers and schools across the country, and use them in your classroom practices. Thank you.
My next question is to Joseph, sir. Sir, the term 1 practical examinations, which are going to be conducted by the examiners, internal examiners, will the examination be supervised? Will it be conducted online? And if the offline examination is conducted in the school, will we have the external examiners?
Practical examination, the first time examination, the full freedom is with the school. The schools are supposed to conduct the practical examinations, except for those subjects wherein major weightage of marks is for the practical exam, like music, dance, wherein external examinations will be deputed by the board. But for all other subjects where marks up to 30 is allotted for the practical component, the examinations will be conducted by the school teachers themselves, and there will not be any external supervision. But proper records needs to be maintained by every school for maintaining the practical examination records.
Will the date sheet be given by the board, or a window will be given by the board, and the dates will be decided by the schools?
Are you talking about the
first term examinations? Yes.
For the first term examination, as our circular is very clear, the examination will be conducted for a period of 8 weeks from November to December. So within that 8 weeks time, different time schedules will be announced by the board. Depending upon the COVID pandemic situation prevailing in each area, schools can opt for a time schedule, and within that time schedule, they can conduct the examination. But exams will be conducted as per the schedules announced by the board.
Sir, how will you ensure the fair and uniform marking schemes when the papers are being checked by the teachers of the different schools?
CBSE is already having a very vibrant marking scheme. So same process will be followed for the term-wise examination also. So marking scheme and complete guidelines for the evaluation will be given to the school. Teachers will be trained and examiners will be trained. They will be oriented so that nobody will face any problem. They are all experienced. Further, they will be strengthened with the supporting mechanisms.
Shweta ma'am, is the policy going to shift the learning to the competency-based learning?
So the board is committed towards fulfilling the vision of the Education Policy 2020, and as everybody is aware, NEP talks extensively about competencies, how important it is for learners to acquire the critical competencies. In fact, the CBSE is already, I think we've already notified that schools need to adopt the learning outcomes NCRT both at the primary level and for secondary and semi-secondary. And we are working very closely with a group of experts to delineate the minor competencies for each subject and for the complete curriculum, at least for the major subjects. So probably in the next coming few years, we will be able to unveil that and put it forward and ask people to give their observations and comments. But yes, certainly we are moving to a space where we are adopting competency-based educations, and at least I'm very happy about it.
So I have two last questions, one to Dr. Emmanuel and one for Dr. Pragya. So sir, first I will come to you. This policy that has been released during the pandemic, will this continue in future also, because the new education policy also demands a shift in the examinations, multiple examinations. So what is your plan? What is the CBSE's plan on it? What is the long-term plan?
For the time being, this has been announced as a plan, special package for the pandemic year. But in the years to come, suppose if we are getting better feedback or good feedback, then we can think about continuing the system. But so far, no decision has been taken. But always there is a stress in the new education policy that examinations should be de-stressed. There should not be much stress on the students. So let us see whether this model can be used as a de-stressing mechanism in the years to come. But as of now, it's a plan announced for the current pandemic year.
Right, sir. So because that is the question that many educators want an answer to. Thank you for answering that. Pragya ma'am, if I can have the last answer from you. With the examinations being conducted in-house, the parents feel that there are chances of unfair competition of results by the schools. What strategies would the board adopt to ensure an objective and fair tabulation of the results?
Ma'am, this is I just in my presentation shared how to make internal assessment more valid and reliable. That is one such measures being taken by the board, that the assessments which are done at school level, they are reliable, they are valid, they are authentic. So the guidelines which we have released are very specific and highly detailed and comprehensive. So I'm sure schools will follow those guidelines and make their assessments more reliable and authentic so that it can be used for a fair and transparent results for the students. Thank you.
Right, thank you, ma'am. So, sir, can I request you for the closing remarks?
Thank you so much, Jyoti ma'am, to be part of this program. Let me share with everyone that more than 12,000 teachers and principals and school leaders are part of this webinar. So, out of the 25,000, almost half of our school fraternity is participating in this webinar. And more webinars are coming. All of you are requested to take part in the coming webinars also in big numbers to take advantage of the webinars organized by the CBSE. So CBSE is always there to support you. And if you have any more doubt or you need any more clarification on any issue we have discussed here, you can reach out to us, you can email us, or you can reach out to the regional offices as well as the COEs. They are always there to support you and help you. So once again, thank you so much, all the panel members, And I thank Chairman sir and thank Jyotima for sparing your time and be part of this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to place on record the tremendous efforts that have been put in to explore the innovative learning and teaching practices to enable the students to develop the competencies required in the 21st century. Thank you, and we really applaud Team CBSE. Thank you, sir.